So what is this then? This is the Renault Scenic E-Tech, European Car of the Year 2024. Today we're going to put it through its paces, test it and see what it's really all about. Because it is totally electric. Welcome to Totally Electric, where we test drive electric cars and talk about sustainable mobility. In this video we're going to do the electric slam of the Renault Scenic E-Tech. The Electric Exam is our own proprietary format where we test 8 categories that are relevant for selecting the right EV for you. Each category has its own weight and at the end we'll give a total score for the car. If you want to compare this car with other cars that's gone through the Electric Exam, you can do so on our website. I'll put a link below in the description. Now let's go check out the Renault Scenic. I'm going to tell you about the Renault Scenic E-Tech, but I'm going to do it quickly because there's a storm coming and I do not want to be caught out in a Spanish summer storm out here in the wild. The Renault Scenic starts at 38,700 euros here in Spain, but this version is the one with the bigger battery and it goes all the way up to 48,000. It's also the iconic version, so it's the top of the line. On top of the 48,000, this has a paint job and a glass roof. Each of these adds another 1,500 euros. So the car you're seeing here actually cost 51,000 euros. Now that's the official price. You might get a better deal at the dealership. It has a massive battery. 92 kilowatt hours or 87 kilowatt hours net, so accessible to the user. It means that it's one of the smallest SUVs with one of the bigger batteries, and it gives it all the way up to 625 kilometers according to the WLTP standard, though this one with these rims and these wheels only has got 610. However, we'll test that later on and see how many highway miles that's actually going to give you. The engine is located in the front, so there's no frunk under here. They couldn't fit it in. I don't know why. Other brands can, they cannot. But fear not, because even though this isn't the biggest of SUVs, it's got a massive trunk in the back. That's really big, and in fact it's even bigger than the number suggests because it's really put stuff in there, and it has a flooring that's quite far down. It's got quite high space to the roof, so there's a lot of space in there. I've had this car for a month and I've traveled with it more than 3,000 kilometers and it's just easy to fill up with suitcases, no problem. Really big space in the back, and that is despite this not being the biggest of cars. It's only 4 meters 47 long, so it's a C segment SUV, not even a D segment. It weighs 1,917 kilos in this particular configuration and does 0 to 100 in 7.9 seconds. We are going to test that later on in this video as well. It also has a top speed of 170 kilometers an hour. Now I'm not going to test that, I'm just going to believe the official numbers on that one, okay? I really like the look of the new generation of electric Renault cars. Just like the Renault Megane E-Tech, this looks modern, sexy and sophisticated. So we've got these rhomboids, I think they're called rhomboids. Correct me if I'm wrong, you know, that emulate the logo of the brand here in the front, but there's no actual grille up here. We've got a camera down here in the middle just to help us park. We've got another camera up there in the center for the lane keeping. Then we've got proximity sensors. Yeah, and we've got a sporty masculine front end, lots of angles, lots of lights. Looks really, really good. We also got these Renault LED lights, which, you know, turn on and off in sort of a sexy sequence when we come up to the car. I like how the thunder really adds to the drama of this video. I hope you can hear it and appreciate that I am taking a risk out here for you guys. So the key for this car is standard Renault. It's sort of like a, you know, flat credit card sized thing. When I walk up to the car, you'll see the door handles pop out and receive me. So I can open and get in, and if I want to leave the car just or close it, I just leave it there. And look at the lights. Look at how they say goodbye to me. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be able to record the rest of this video today. Now, one detail I dislike about this car is where they've chosen to put the charge port front right. See, at the front, it means that you have to park front first into parking spaces. Don't know about you guys, but here in Spain, most parking spaces are quite tight and it's quite difficult to actually park front first in there. And for example, a typical garage, you have to like go down in your garage front first, which is fine, but probably not best when you're getting out. So front charge port, I dislike it. However, it is on the right hand side, which is good for the Tesla superchargers. but it's quite far back compared to where the nose of the car is. So even in some Tesla chargers, you still have a problem actually reaching the charging port. Would have been better had it been all the way to the front, or actually even much better, somewhere in the back of the car. 20-inch rims by default on this version. How about that? You can optionally get 19-inch rims if you want. These have a funny design. So they got these two big pieces for aerodynamics. So two opposing parts. Not here, just these two opposing there. I kind of like the way they look. What do you think about them? It's funny that it's 20 default and you can then option it down to 19. I guess if you choose the 19-inch rims, you get better range out of this car. At the back of the car, you will find the smallest windscreen wiper in automotive history. Well, not maybe literally the smallest, but it's really tiny. And it's useless as well because you don't actually use the rear windscreen to view out the back. Use this camera here. I'll show you that later on inside the car. So it's a good looking car, right? It's got personality, it's modern, angular, and very much Renault, right? Now let's see, how far can it go on a charge? So we're going to do the range test of the Renault Scenic E-Tech. Officially, this has 610 kilometers of WLTP range. 625 if you get the smaller wheels and everything. But this one, officially 610. Now, I'm going to do the highway test. So that means going at 120. I was just going to talk about the setup for the car, because you got this Comfort, Eco, Sport, or Perso. Perso, I guess, is personalized or customized. So I'm not going to use Sport, obviously, for a range test on highway. So I was debating doing Comfort or Eco. Now, I don't want to drive in a car, nice car with no aircon or anything else like, the comfort turned down low. I don't want to do that. I want to make sure that when I travel, I'm comfortable. So sometimes I don't want to use the Eco config for these range tests because they take away my aircon or something like that. And who wants to drive a 50,000 euro car sweating in summer or freezing in winter? Not me. But in this car, you can actually configure it, even if you're in the Eco mode, so that life on board, you got the climate set to normal instead of Eco. So I will be comfortable. The only thing that this is going to change is actually the engine. The engine's going to have Or engine? Why do they call it an engine? It's not an engine, it's a motor. Engine? This car doesn't have an engine. Renault, check your translations. So the engine is set to Eco, meaning I'll get a little bit less acceleration. Doesn't really matter as long as I'm on the highway. However, I will be checking that I can actually comfortably go at 120 kilometers an hour. And if not, I'm going to set it back to normal driving comfort. So here we are, we've got 100% battery, highway up here. We're going to drive 120 kilometers per hour going that way, and then when I'm out of battery, we're going to turn around, or when I'm halfway through the battery, we're going to turn around and go back here and see how far we go. 610 kilometers officially according to the WLTP. In fact, it says 611 right here. Let's see how far we can actually go. I'm driving an Eco and I'm on the highway. I'm allowed to do 120, but since I'm an Eco, the car limits itself to 115. Now this is exactly why I'm not using Eco mode when I do the range test normally, and I don't want to be driving at 115. I want to do 120, so no Eco. We're back to comfort. Here we go. 120. Let's move. So I'm not even going to do 120 because according to the car, I don't know if you can see the display here, I'm doing 122. However, 122 according to this car is exactly 120 according to our high precision GPS. I use a Draghi, which is this here device, which is a high precision GPS. That'll do your check your 0 to 100 and all those things, but it will also give you a very, very precise reading on your speed. So 122 it is. One of the most important things is not how far a car can go, it is how well it helps you plan the charging stops. So let's see how this car does. I am right now close to Madrid, so sort of 100 kilometers from Madrid in Spain. Very nice place, by the way. So let's see if I can travel with this, if it'll help me do traveling stops. I'll use the voice assistant for this. Let's take a trip to Florence in Italy.
Navigating to Florence.
Okay, so it's really, really quick. It took no time to go there. It's found charging stops on the way. It tells me how much time I need to charge at each charging stop. It found 6. This is absolutely perfect. See, the important thing is not so much that I can go 500 kilometers in one go. I can travel with a car that's got 200 kilometers range if it tells me where to stop and charge and how much time and all that. So if I click on start there, it's gonna choose a set of charging stations, and as you can see, it's gonna tell me how much I'm gonna have, how much energy I'm gonna have at each charging station, when I'm gonna arrive there, how long time I have to stay there. Perfect. That is the way to do it. So according to the system, if I turn around at the next exit and go back, I'm going to arrive back at the charger with only 4% of battery. I want you to remember this 4% because my hunch is that this system is quite conservative and I might have even more. I hope so, because 4% is cutting it a bit close, right? Well, let's check it out. See you later if I'll actually get there. Doing a range test with a modern day electric car means that I have to drive around 3 to 5 hours, plus later the charging test. But you know what? I like doing this. This is my dream job, and the reason why I can do this is because of you guys. The channel is growing and I seem to get more views, more subscribers every day, and for that I'm really grateful. You see, it's not always the same parameters you need to analyze before choosing an electric car when you compare it to, say, a combustion engine car. And I think many reviews miss some of the most important details, and I hope to rectify that by these electric exams. So if you like information about electric cars and what really matters when you're choosing your next electric cars, I'd really appreciate that you subscribe as well. Thank you very much to those who've already done so. Now let's keep driving. All right, I've done 300 kilometers now. I've still got 20% left on the battery. Not bad. So remember how I said we were going to get there with only 4%? Well, I just drove past the charger there and we still got 10% left. So actually, this system is quite conservative. When it says you're going to get there with 10%, you'll get there with 20. When it says you're going to get there with 2%, you're going to get there with 10%, and so on. Maybe that's a good thing because you know you'll always get there, but honestly, I think I just prefer a system that's precise and says exactly how much I'm going to have when I get there. But, you know, it's better to be conservative than to be optimistic in this sense. I'd rather it says 2 and I get there with 10 than it's saying 10 and I get there with 2, if you know what I mean. So I've continued a bit further because I don't want to get there with 10%. I want to get there with well below 10% so I can do a fast charging session now. So now I've just continued a bit further. I'm going to double back round and get back to the charger. Okay, we've done the range test now. I've been driving for 368 kilometers, but I've still got 8% battery left and I left with 99%. So if we use a little bit of math, that means that the full range for this car in today's conditions is 404 kilometers, or the same as 251 miles. That is a very good number. I've been driving for more than 3.5 hours now and I am knackered. I want to stop and charge now. So the average speed has been 112 kilometers an hour, which is exactly 70 miles per hour. The temperature has been between 20 and 28 degrees Celsius, which is 68 to 88 degrees Fahrenheit. The efficiency of this car has been 21.2 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, or the same as 212 watt hours per kilometer, or the same as 339 watt hours per mile. Now that could be improved, and if you use two Teslas, which is what everybody compares to in the comments, take into account that this is an SUV, and yeah, it's not too bad. So next up, we're going to do the charging test. How long time do we have to stop for a charge? Let's do it. Carga en inglés. Okay, so I've just started the charging here. I'm using this here, the Thunder card. So I am at a Thunder charging station. Thunder is a Spanish operator. They've got more than 100 stations all around Spain, and they're one of the most reliable. There's always plenty of stations around when you are there to charge, and you can use either a RFID card, credit card, you can use an app, or you can even link it and use your car, you know, the linked car is just to identify the payment. So I really like charging at these stations. They're very convenient, highly reliable. They're just plugged in. So this station can do 360 kilowatts and the car supposedly 150. So we spent 21.1 kilowatt hours to do 100 kilometers, and my test is how much time do we need to charge 200 kilometers? So we need to charge 42.2 kilowatt hours here. How long time is that going to take us? Okay, check this out. The car has immediately started charging at 143 kilowatts. It's at 10% charge. Okay, so inside the car, here's something funny. You can see how many kilometers we've charged. You can see the battery percentage, and it gives us an estimate of how much time we need until we reach 100%. In fact, if I set the maximum charge of the battery here to something less, say for example 80%, it's now going to say how long time it'll take me to get to 80%, and of course that's a lot more reasonable. However, it doesn't anywhere tell me what's the charging speed, and that is quite annoying. I mean, here at this station I can see it because I can just go out and look at the machine, or in fact, since it's linked to the app, I can actually see that right now we're charging 130 kilowatts. That's great. But what if you're charging at a station where the machine or the app doesn't tell you, like for example a Tesla supercharger? Then you have no way of knowing and how many kilowatts are you actually charging your car, because the car doesn't tell you and the machine and the app doesn't either. Strange omission. Check this out. It's actually slightly more than 21 kilowatt hours. It's charged 21 kilowatt hours in just 10 minutes. That means that you can fast charge this car and charge 100 kilometers in just 10 minutes. Okay, right. Check out these Thunder charging stations. They're marvelous. At least 4 posts per station, fast charging, solar canopy, plenty of space between the cars so you don't ding your doors. Yeah. All charging stations should be like this. There you go, 42.2 kilowatt hours in 22 minutes and 30 seconds. That's how long it takes you to recharge 200 kilometers in the Renault Scenic E-Tech. So that means that if you're driving from Madrid to Barcelona, which is 600 kilometers, you'll just need one stop of 20 minutes to get there. It's not bad. Now it's time to test the acceleration of this car. Now this is a front wheel drive. We've got 200 kilowatts of power on it. Officially 7.9 seconds to 100, which isn't gonna impress a lot of track racers, but let's do it anyway. To check this out, I have this. This is a Draggy. It connects to a high precision GPS on the top of the car, and it should give us a very, very accurate reading of 0 to 100. Let's see if it can do 7.9. I've got 98% battery right now. Should be okay. Come on, 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 come on. This is not super quick. Let's go, let's go. I think that was 100. Right, I've repeated the test now several times, and my best time so far, official time, 7.9 seconds, and I did it in 7.99. 7.99 is not going to impress anybody on the drag strip, but it's not too bad for a mummy wagon, is it? All right, let's see how else it drives. This car has got several different drive modes, and I can change them with a button here on the steering wheel, just like a Ferrari. That's where the similarities stop, by the way. I've got 3 driving modes. I can also do this on the screen. I have Comfort, which is just normal driving. I've got Eco, which will get you further, and I've got Sport, which will put a smile on your face. I've also got Perso, which I guess is, you know, custom or whatever. One thing I do like is that even though I'm in Eco, for example, I can still go in and configure some things. I can configure the steering effort. So high, it's quite firm, and low, it's very easy to move the steering wheel. Low is perhaps good for, I don't know, city driving, high for highway. I just like it in high. I like to feel, you know, a bit connected to the wheels. You got things like live on board, so I can change the ambient lighting. It can either be, you know, changing according to the time of day, or I can just put it on a personalized one, so I just set it to my own favorite color, which just happened to be pink today. So now everything is, I think that's more like purple, isn't it? Well, pink and purple, it'll affect the screens, and it'll also affect the LED lighting around, which you can't really see now. Well, maybe a little bit here, but at night, it looks really modern and really sophisticated. I don't know if changing the interior LED lighting actually affects the range. I don't think so, to be honest. So we've got these different driving modes, so let's just set it to Comfort. But aside from that, we've also got different levels of regenerative braking, and you manage it using these pads behind the steering wheel, just like a Ferrari again. So there are 4 levels, which is, first one is just off. So let's just try them and I'll show you. See, right now it's level 0. And if I drive, say, for example, slightly downhill here, 30 kilometers an hour, 40, 47, and I let go, it keeps accelerating. It's just driving as if it was a normal automatic car. Level 1, I can feel it. Level 2, I can definitely feel it. And level 3 feels like I'm applying the brakes slightly, which is good. Level 3, I would suggest you put level 3 on if you're driving in the city, because you can actually drive most of the time and never even touch the brakes. You know, you come out to a cross light or a roundabout or something, foot off the gas, and it slows down significantly. However, there's one thing it doesn't do, and let me show you what it is. I've got a maximum regenerative braking. I'm letting go, 35 kilometers an hour, 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, and here we go. It doesn't stop. It keeps going. What's this? Why don't you come to a full stop, Renault? Why do I have to put my foot on the brake? Why, oh why, Renault, do you put me through this ordeal? Why do I have to move my foot from the accelerator to the brake pedal in order to come to a full stop? This is the only thing that's wrong with this setup. I would have so much liked it to at least be an option somewhere for it to come to a full stop. If Renault doesn't think that we should automatically, all of us, come to a full stop when we lift our foot off the accelerator pedal, then at least give us the option to configure it in the menu. Right, suspension is quite firm. Wheels are grippy. It's got a nice solid feel to the driving. However, we've got 200 horsepower and they are to the front wheels, and this being an electric car, it's not a lot of weight over the front wheels, which means that if I go around a corner while I accelerate heavily, look at this, you will hear the wheels lose a little bit of grip. Not a lot, just a little. In fact, most other cars with a similar motor and front wheel drive, they will skid a lot more around the corner. This one actually didn't. Yeah, it's not like a rear wheel drive where it just pushes you through the corners. Here it does let go a bit, but it's quite controlled. I like the driving dynamics of this car. They're quite nice, actually. It's not a sporty car by any measure, but it is nice and firm to drive. This is a relatively big car, and I can certainly tell because there's loads of space in here. Got lots of headroom. I'm 1.90 m, 6'4", but even so, more than, a fist above me. And I guess that's because of this roof I've got here, this enormous glass roof, which really lights up the whole interior of this car. The seating position is nice and upwards. I like the steering wheel. It's chunky and it's got a good grip to it. It's flat on the top, flat on the bottom. It's got like little holes in it, I guess. It's also heated, and so are the seats. The seats, by the way, are cloth. They're not, leather or faux leather, which is so much in fashion these days. And to be honest, I kind of like the cloth seats, especially when you're in Spain, where it's hot as the surface of the sun in summer. Materials, they look really nice. This part here on the sides has nice and sophisticated. It's got LED lighting inside. However, they are a little bit plasticky in some parts. You will find some plastics that, let's see how they hold up over the years. So it's not luxurious materials, they're just more sort of standard materials. The fit and finish is quite good. Everything fits in place. Everything is nicely and snugly put together, with one notable exception. If you look up here, there's a light here, and this light here, somebody pushed it too hard. It wasn't me, but it's in there. Not so snug as that. Aside from that, I have a place for my phone, which also charges it. I've got drink space. I've got plenty of space in here. Nice big cabin. One thing I will mention though, if you look at this bit here, if I am moving my elbow, this slides back and forth. And it slides quite easily. So if I've got a co-pilot next to me and he or she's got her elbow on there, and we can sort of fight whether we want this front or back. Not a big deal, but quite annoying. Yeah, so I fit well in the front. Let's see how well I fit in the back. In the back of the Renault Scenic E-Tech, there's plenty of space here. Look, I'm 1.90 m. I've got headroom, got leg room. I've even got room to the sides. It's quite wide, this car. I like it. It's very comfortable back here. And check out this. I've got 2 USB ports down there to charge my devices. But if that's not enough, I can actually put this here thing down. I've got 2 cup holders here, and then I can open this. I've got a storage space here, and I've got another 2 USB ports down here. And then I can do this. And now I've got this funky phone holder thingy sticking out there. How about that? So yeah, lots of space, very practical. You know what? I think it's wide enough for 3 adults to sit next to each other here. I think it might actually be. I like this space a lot. I could, no problem, travel from here to the end of the world sitting in the back of this car. Very nice, Renault. The Renault Scenic E-Tech is an absolutely technological marvel. Look at this. We have a rear view mirror, which is actually a camera. So I can actually see something even though there's a small rear window or there might be people in the back. Not a problem. I can just use this camera up there. I've got this massive screen here in the middle, and I've got a secondary screen behind the steering wheel. It's actually quite a big screen, and it's got good, well-designed colors. It's really easy to understand what's going on there. In fact, the space in the steering wheel where I can see behind it is wide open. I like that. It's really nice. Now we've got this roof here, which is a technological marvel. It's electrochromatic, so I can electronically open it. Just change the transparency of it, and I can do it front half, rear half, or full. It works so well that even at 12 o'clock, bright sunlight, if I put this to the darkest setting, the sun gives no more light than the moon at night. Oh, I'm wrapping. So that's great. That's great. The screen here is great. The other screen here is great. And the steering wheel's got loads of buttons. So we got on the left-hand side for my ADAS system. The right-hand side, we've got a set of sort of mix-match of buttons. Some are for managing part of the screen. Some are for music. Some are for other stuff. A little bit of everything. Then we have no less than 3 stalks here on the right-hand side for audio, for windshield wipers, and for gear selecting. Now, the audio one is particularly interesting. It's got a wheel at the back to scroll, to skip forward and backwards in songs. It's got a volume up, volume down, a mode, and a source button. It's actually got 2 sources, so you can switch back and forth between, I don't know, Bluetooth, radio, etc. All very, very funny and excessive, right? Now, the funny thing is, with all these buttons here, they still didn't put a mute button on it. If I want to mute it, I have to push 2 buttons at the same time. How is it possible, Renault, that you put 700 buttons on it and you didn't put a mute button on it? Weird. Now the rain's going to come down, and I hope you don't mind the noise, but that's why I'm sitting inside recording this bit right now. I can't do the outside bit right now, so sorry about that. Aside from 3 stalks here, I've also got these levers here, which I used to change the regen. On the left-hand side of the steering wheel, I've got buttons for my ADAS controls. And on the right-hand side, I've got an assortment of buttons. Some I use for controlling this screen here. Some are for other random stuff. I can even program one of them. Then I have a multi-sense button. The multi-sense just changed my driving mode between comfort, eco, sport, and personal. So it's just a drive mode button, but it's there and it's called multi-sense. Funny, isn't it? Aside from that, I've got LED lighting in the interior. So loads of technology. Oh, did I mention that on the left-hand side, I've also got another stalk, which is for the lighting. So yeah, 4 stalks, 2 levers, a floating button, and touch buttons on the steering wheel. Here's the thing. I don't like the way it looks. It looks like I'm managing a squid or something like that. There's just too much of it. However, you do get used to it. I've been driving this car for about a month now, and it's fine. I mean, you don't think about it when you use it. I now, without thinking about it, turn up and down my music and go back and forth on the songs and all that. It's fine. It's okay. It's just a funny solution, quite contrary to the minimalist solution that we have generally on cars nowadays. Specifically, it's funny because we've got this massive screen in the middle, which does everything as well. It's got the Android Automotive setup here, so that's wonderful. Now, aside from that, all these buttons here and stalks and stuff like that, we've also got buttons here on the door for windows and adjusting my exterior mirrors. And I've got a set of 2 buttons here on the left-hand side. One is for opening the trunk and the other is for activating my personal settings for the ADAS controls, which is super useful because if I double click it, it'll turn off this super annoying beeping sound that every modern car does when you go over the speed limit. It's the rules, it's not the car's fault really. I have 2 USB-C chargers here. I've got a wireless phone charger in the middle. This car's got it all. I mean, for the price point, the technology in this car is amazing. You see, the Android automotive system is perhaps the best system currently available for managing screens in a car, and that includes the Tesla system. I think this might be a little bit better. It's super quick, so if I want to plan a route anywhere, I just have to tell it to do so. I'm not going to use the keywords because all of your phones will be going off then. So I'm just going to push this button here on the steering wheel instead. Take me to Barcelona. See how quick this is.
Navigating to Barcelona.
What? No time whatsoever. Let's try something a bit more challenging. Let's try to go even further. Take me to London.
Navigating to London.
3 seconds. Gosh, and it's now finding charging stops and everything. This is amazing. I mean, I speak slower than this system. Fantastic. So aside from that, I've also got the customized and personalized apps I can install. So if I want to use a better route planner instead of the standard one that comes along, I can do that because I've got the Play Store installed here. Play Store has got a set of apps, not all of the Android apps, because that would be a security liability for a car, but some of them are vetted, so like Spotify and Waze, and I can use those in my car, and it works really, really well. And even if I don't like this system, I can use Android Automotive or Android Auto from my phone or Apple CarPlay wirelessly. I don't have to plug it in. But honestly, this system is so good, I don't think I really want to use the Apple CarPlay, do I? Probably not. This being Google, it also connects with your profile. So if I, for example, do a search on my phone to go somewhere, it'll later on show up on my history on my car. So it connects you, it knows where you are, where you're going, where your work is, etc., which is brilliant because it makes life easier for you. And it's also good for your paranoia, isn't it? In this menu here, you will see that there's also the 360 camera, and it works really well as well. I can see in front of the car, I can see, well, a widescreen. Is this in front or behind? No, this is behind. So I can see this view where I've sort of got a top-down view and the back of the car, but if I just want a full screen of it, I can see it like that, or I can see the curb sides on both sides if I want to park, or I can do this magical exterior view of the car. I don't know how they do that, do they? Because there's no drone flying around filming me, but yeah, they stitch these images together and it gives you this wonderful view of where you are in sort of a 3D. Yeah, brilliant. Now, aside from the camera, the Android Automotive, the Google, this screen, that screen, we've also got a heated steering wheel. We've got heated seats in this as well. We've got LED lighting that you can either put to your own personal preferred color, or you can just have it automatically set. We've got the electrochromatic glass roof. This car is packed with technology. Wonderful in that sense. We even have a parking assist that will help us park and unpark. How good is that? So the Renault Scenic E-Tech incorporates a level 2 driver assistance feature, meaning that it'll do all the tasks of driving in on the road, but I am responsible, so I have to basically keep my hands on the wheel at all times. It'll maintain the distance to the car in front of me, and it'll follow the curves around a corner. It won't change lanes for me. I have to do that myself. And of course, it doesn't work when you have to go around roundabouts and other such complicated stuff like that. But it's a standard level 2 system that we find in many or even most cars today. This one works quite well. I managed it with the controls on the left-hand side of the steering wheel, where I can turn it on, turn it off, change between the different modes. There are 3 different modes. There are, let's just try them out here, speed limiter. So if I want to set it to a fixed speed, so 120, and no matter how much I push on the pedal, it won't go any faster than that. Then it's got, let's see, active assistance, which is everything. And then it's got just adaptive cruise control. Now, I like to use the active assistant, the one that does both the cruise control and the lane keeping. So I'm putting that on and I'm setting it to 122 because that's 120 real kilometers an hour. Now I could have it automatically adapt to the speed signs it sees, but I don't want to do that because I don't want it to go down to 120 all the time. On the screen I can clearly see what it is set to, what my actual speed is, and what the maximum allowed speed is right now. I can also in the middle see how well it detects the lanes. If they're green, it sees the lanes perfectly, and you can see that I'm stuck in the middle here. Perfectly well centered. I can adjust the car within the lane without the system turning off, which is very nice. If I want to, say, for example, avoid a pothole I see in front, so I can just slightly turn to the right or to the left. But as you see, the system is still active and the car's still keeping me in the lane. If I want to change to a different lane, I have to put on my blinkers and I have to do that manually. It's not something it does automatically, and that's something the system is capable of, at least not right now. I like the fact that it clearly indicates whether it's on or off, and I like the fact that the steering wheel sort of becomes a little bit heavier, which is a good haptic response for this. In order to detect whether I'm paying attention, it detects my hands on the steering wheel and sort of the torque that I exercise on it. So it's not capacitive like Mercedes, for example, where I just have to touch it slightly as if it was a mobile phone screen. Here I do have to actually exercise some pull on the steering wheel, some torque on it. It's not really a problem. I just put my hand on like that and it can feel the weight of my hand, and that's just fine for this system. So let's see how well the lane keeping does going around a curve. You can see there's a curve coming up here, down there. We're doing 120 right now. There's a motorcycle in front of us doing exactly the same speed as well. He's very good at maintaining this speed. Good job. So I'm not doing the turning. Let's see how well the car does. I'm ready to take over at any time. Yeah, it's staying within the lines. It is having trouble sticking to the lines, though. It did paint it in red. But it's doing it. We're going around the corner. It trembles slightly because it's like, pay attention. You can see the steering wheel is moving. I'm not turning, I'm just having my hands on the wheel. Okay, so here it did it. It was okay, but spoiler alert, if it's a little bit tighter in the bends, then you have to take over. All right, let's see how it does here. So far so good. Let's see this corner up here. Yeah, it's okay. It's actually not bad at all. You do have to pay attention, but it will do most of the job for you, meaning that on a long road trip, you will arrive at your destination without having to micro-correct every 2 seconds and thus, tiring your brain out.
Let's look at the scores. As always, you can compare them with others on our website linked in the description below. Range and efficiency. 404 kilometers of real highway range is impressive and makes this a car that is easy to travel with. This would give it 7 points. Its efficiency was 21.1 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, which is acceptable for a mid-sized SUV. I'd also like to highlight how easy it is to plan a route with charging stations included, so we'll bump the score up to 7.5 points. Charging experience. The time to charge 200 kilometers was 22.5 minutes, a reasonable time for a break, making it easy to travel with this car. The maximum charging speed is 145 kilowatts, but the charging curve drops off in steps, slightly extending the total charging time. I also don't like the location of the charging port. I find it inconvenient in many situations. You can schedule the charging, but I miss seeing the charging speed displayed on the dashboard, which I find to be a significant omission. I give it 7.5 points for charging. Performance and driving. This is a front-wheel drive SUV built for comfort, not sportiness, so it's not really fair to judge its performance based on acceleration, but we live in an unfair world and that is just how the electroexam works. It takes 8 seconds to reach 100 kilometers an hour, which only gives it an initial score of 3 points. Another negative point is that it doesn't come to a full stop when you let off the accelerator, so it doesn't offer true one-pedal driving. However, it does have great adjustments for options for regen and driving modes. The suspension is good and comfortable, which is what you want in this type of vehicle really. So, we raise it a bit and leave it at 4 points. Interior and quality. The interior space of this vehicle is excellent, especially considering it's not a D-segment SUV but a C-segment. The interior is spacious enough for 5 passengers with plenty of luggage. The fact that a car that is just 4.47 meters long has 545 liters of trunk is a big plus. even though it doesn't have a frunk. The design is modern and attractive, but the materials feel a bit cheap in some areas, and there's an overuse of hard plastics. I give it 5 points for interior and quality. Exterior and design. I love the exterior design of the Renault Scenic E-Tech. It's modern, unique and different from what Renault has done in the past. I think Renault's design direction for the Megane, the Scenic and the upcoming Renault 5 is spot on, with a strong brand identity. I give it 8 points for exterior and design. Technology. This car comes super equipped in this tested version. Electrochromatic roof, Android Automotive, Google Online Integration, 360 cameras, voice controlled wireless Apple CarPlay, and 1,000 other features. It does have an excess of buttons and levers and interfaces. The center screen operates smoothly and the system is intuitive and easy to understand. Even so, I give it 8 points for technology. Driver assistance systems. The lane keeping and distance control systems work well, although you need to stay alert because they can deactivate in curves without audible warning. The reliability is relatively good, but the functionality is limited. It's not suitable for secondary roads as it can't handle tighter curves. I like that there's also a speed limiter, and the system features automated parking. For driving assistance, I give it 7 points. Price. I'll be referring to the price in my local Spanish market. Prices in other markets might vary slightly. The Renault Scenic E-Tech starts at €38,700, with the tested version going all the way up to €49,400. The only SUV with a similar range that can compete with the Renault Scenic in terms of price is the Tesla Model Y long range with rear-wheel drive, which is currently available for €46,990. Other alternatives could be the Volkswagen ID.4 Pro at €44,895, though it has slightly less range. A vehicle with similar size and range would be the Nissan Ariya with 87 kilowatt hours, but its price goes all the way up to €57,220. Therefore, I find the Renault Scenic to be fairly priced and quite competitive if you're looking for a C-segment SUV with long range. I give it 7 points for price. Taking into account the weight of each category and its score, we reach a final Electro Exam score for the Renault Scenic E-Tech Iconic of 68 out of 100 points. Remember, you can personalize this score using our website, linked in the description below.
So that is the Renault Scenic E-Tech, and I think there are plenty of good reasons to choose this car. At this price point, you won't find another mid-sized SUV with this bigger battery, this long range and all the tech you've got inside. Perfect everyday car, and you can even go for long road trips. 404 kilometers on a single charge and 200 kilometers recharged in just 20 minutes. Not a bad package that Renault has put together here. So thank you very much for watching this video. You've been watching Totally Electric, and if you enjoy videos that go into details about electric cars, then this is the channel for you. And if you reach this far, I bet you do. So I'd appreciate it if you subscribe, and you will be able to then get a notification once we test a new car. I have another one in mind. It's slightly bigger than this one. It's got a similar battery and maybe even a similar range.